let me go ahead and introduce Paul, and then Paul, maybe you can you can also introduce yourself. I am so excited to actually speak with Paul Manyaki from Zoom. He's the global ISV partner lead there, and the reason I'm excited about talking to Paul is I know he both uses Miro quite a bit, and also it has been thinking really deeply about meetings and the meaning of meetings in this remote world. So I'm really excited to dig into that with you. But before we do that, Paul, will you go ahead and introduce yourself so people know kind of what you do at Zoom, and yeah, just start with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm really happy to be here today with everyone. And as what was mentioned, my name is Paul Manyaki. I run our ISV partner program here at Zoom. What that means is I get to talk to partners and third parties all day about how they're incorporating building Zoom into their platform and making that available to their users. And so I often find myself kind of on the cusp of what a lot of people are thinking and forward thinking around how they see video and meetings and things like that, and really kind of evolving from a web meeting into a much more interactive experience and those things. So really excited to talk with everyone today.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Well, it's been about a year, over a year since, our homes became our new workplaces. Just as you reflect on kind of this past year, what are you hearing from your customers about how meetings have changed? Perhaps how they've become better? What are the challenges? Yeah, start.
Yeah. So, we, as just a culture here at Zoom, we spend a good amount of time talking to and listening to, probably more importantly, the second part, listening to our customers and, what they're telling us in terms of virtual meetings and virtual meeting technology. And for many of you that know, we're in a Zoom today, it's fairly easy to get in and get going. And that's been kind of one of the hallmarks of what we provide as far as a service. We really look at the end user's happiness as being probably one of the most important things that we do and strive for in terms of the usability of our products and services. But to answer your question around, what we've been hearing from customers around this has been kind of, a few different aspects. The first is around the use of video has really exploded. And we see it in our metrics, we see it in our data, and we see the utilization and those types of things all over the world in terms of people using video more often. But I am very curious in terms of my nature, and I like to ask why. Why is video important now versus, other times? And the resounding answer that we get back a lot is around personal connection and personal and group accountability. And so by personal connection, it's really about, I'm at a distance between my team and, other decision makers and stakeholders. If I'm working in a business and I need to connect with them, and having that distance for a lot of people is new, right? And having some sort of way to connect to people in a much more human way, face to face, but having to do that through, a screen is, for a lot of people kind of foreign. I've been in remote work for probably over 20 years for myself. So for me, it's natural, but for a lot of other people, it isn't. And so having that type of connection, so I can ask you a question, I can see the type of response I'm getting from you, I can believe you or not if I'm getting that type of answer that I'm looking for. And that's so mission critical in terms of how businesses run today. And so when, there's no video turned on, no one is sharing something, there isn't something interactive that's engaging, people are checked out, right? And so having a way to really bring those things together is what we hear more and more tools, more workflows, more integrations, give us more. And so we're really excited about that.
Oh my gosh. And tell me, so it sounds like the video has sort of overcome some of these barriers of you're missing some of the expressions or the reactions. What are some challenges? What is still missing, do you think? Yeah, what is still challenging about this world?
So I would say one of the key things is around organization, and I'll put it in this term around, organization as a team, right? And
Mm,
so my team in general, just to give my own personal
yeah.
story, I manage over 15 people in my group, and subsequent teams that are attached to my team that make up that number, but they're spread all over the world. So I have people in pretty much all over in every time zone, and the amount of coordination it takes at
Yeah.
times can be kind of daunting. But at Zoom, we use Zoom chat quite a bit
Mhm.
to really kind of get everybody on the same page. We have a best practices that every meeting needs to have an agenda and an
Mhm.
outcome that's associated with it. People need to know why they need to be there and what we're going to ask of them. And so a lot of that work is done kind of up front. Where before, if I'm in an office space, I'm probably like running into people in the hallway and having that conversation. But in a more virtual collaboration experience, it's really important to get everybody on the same page, have those objectives somewhere. We use Miro, quite a bit at Zoom to help with that, but also get people's input before we all meet. So we're not all
Yeah.
just talking about something and just, rehashing things. We're actually joining those meetings to actually make a connection and make a decision,
Oh,
oftentimes.
wow. Yeah, do you have sort of an example of a meeting where that you can talk about where you did some of the upfront work with an agenda and an outcome? Like that seems like the perfect meeting. Give us some examples.
Yeah. So really good example where we actually use Miro for this, where we had a fairly complex, just over time, right?
Mhm.
Processes and stuff just get complex, right?
Yes.
And we had a fairly complex, process for something internally. And we found that we really needed to kind of map it out because everybody was kind of posting in chat and things. Hey, I got this idea, that idea, blah, 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 blah. And we need to capture all those things together in one place. And so we actually created a Miro board that had each of the stakeholders, category, and then they could kind of put a post-it essentially in terms of their ideas. And so we did all that as like the pre-work. So
Oh,
before we
yeah.
all got together, we did that, and then in the agenda, in the calendar invite, was what we wanted the outcome to be. So here's the link to the board. Here's what we're going to discuss, and this is what we're going to ask you as a stakeholder to do that. And so I know it sounds a little generic, but especially for this process that we were working through, it was really complex and had a lot of moving parts, and a lot of people had emotional attachment to that process too. So it helped them to kind of vet those a bit and get that emotion out onto the Miro board a little bit. I won't share exactly how they did that, but let's just say there were, a lot of emojis associated with that.
Oh man, I
And
love that.
and people needed to kind of pay attention to those things as signals, so that when we did get together, people had a good sense of what folks's emotional intent was
Mm.
around this particular process, so then we could really kind of have an open and honest conversation about things either we needed to eliminate or simplify or streamline or those things. So
Oh wow. Yeah, that I can like visualize this like emotional feedback on a process map. Um, was that meeting successful? What do you think made it successful at the end?
yeah, it was a great meeting. A lot of people got out of it, a lot of action items and things. But the number one thing that I got that feedback on was, because there were quite a few people in that meeting who hadn't been exposed to Miro in
Mm.
before, and they really got excited about how we're using something like this, and it became really interactive, which to see everybody's cursors and everything kind of moving around and just kind of jumping in and just doing stuff, was really kind of fun and made
Yeah.
that meeting engaging for a lot of reasons. And that was probably the resounding feedback we got was, this isn't just a meeting where we're all just kind of sitting around talking about stuff. We're actually doing things and actually kind of move the needle forward a bit.
Yeah, totally. And like people just feel empowered too, right? Like you can like do stuff. Like you're not just restricted to a voice. Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. That like inspires me to go like do something at my next meeting. That's similar with lots of emojis. Um, so I want to switch to kind of something you guys that Zoom announced at Zoomtopia last fall, which is about launching Zoom apps this year. I'd love to take this opportunity to get your kind of if you could give us some insight into what your vision with that is, um, and how is that going to really address the future of work or your customers? Like what's kind of the vision there?
Yeah. So like I had mentioned, at the top of this, we do spend a lot of time talking to customers, and a lot of resounding feedback that we got from them was, "Hey, I'm kind of living in Zoom, right? I'm in Zoom every day. It's kind of
Yeah.
this main window and such, and we would like to, look at ways in which we can make the other applications in our world a little bit more interactive in this space, with Zoom." And so at Zoomtopia last year, we announced this. We're impending, or we're pending in terms of launching this pretty soon. So more to come on that. But the overall experience that we're really striving for is not just making other apps available to Zoom users, but really provide ways in which those apps can be really interactive and fun and engaging, and really kind of, in some cases, almost take over the meeting, right?
Mm,
And so we've worked really closely with some key developers and partners to do that, and we've been amazed with the type of feedback and innovation that we've seen just with our core set of APIs and things. And I don't want to get too technical for this, but we had a lot of developers come back and say, "Well, what if you guys could do this? Could that change these things? And we want to make our stuff a little bit more engaging. How could we do it this way?" And I got to really lend it to the product teams in terms of really listening intently and really providing a lot of that guidance back into our engineering teams and such, to really make that experience really fun. And so we've had the chance, to use Zoom apps internally here for a little while. And so I can tell you, without, divulging too much, it really does change the dynamic.
mm,
And being able to work within applications before, during, and after meetings is also really key, so
mm.
that it really kind of brings that continuum of collaboration
Yeah.
together in kind of new and different ways.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's like kind of like we already like did took that video leap. Like what's the next leap there in terms of really being able to collaborate in a space? Um, so you guys use Miro. I'm really curious, like if you like in this dream world where we have a Miro app, how will that change your meetings? Um, yeah.
Yeah. So really, what I've been noticing just in my own internal usage and such is that, let's say in this case, Miro isn't just another application or window that I'm interacting with. It really becomes something interactive for the entire team. And so we'll have some capabilities, at launch, with Zoom apps, which will really enhance, people to connect with better with each other. And for those reasons, I've just noticed how my meetings are different. And it's I don't have to ask for people to engage. It just
Mm,
happens, right? And I
yeah.
think that feeling of discovery and being able to be curious and ask questions and play around and things like that, that's what I find our meetings are becoming more and more of internally, and we're actually getting work done, right? At the same time, but it's something that really kind of makes a meeting less about a meeting and more about just a team getting together and really kind of sharing each other's, experiences. So.
Oh, I love that. Meeting mantra number one, do the work in the meeting. I love it. Well, so I guess final question from me, and Jürgen earlier kind of referenced kind of the future where things are going to be hybrid. People are starting to go back, but not everyone's going back. I just curious, like if you reflected on, I'm sure you've reflected on how Zoom plays into that. If you have any thoughts on how Miro kind of plays into that world, any thoughts or stories there?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, a big part of our emphasis at Zoom is our hybrid work framework. And so at the very beginning of the pandemic, it really became a focus area for us. And we've always had, not only the software application of Zoom and having chat and phone kind of built in, but we've also had the physical aspect of a Zoom meeting called a Zoom room, also part of our portfolio. And so we've really been looking at ways in which the worlds between my software application and my hardware and my, the physical and the virtual, as I call it, really kind of blending those two things together so that, and this is something I've noticed at Zoom by far than, any other, player in our space, is that we really truly believe that everybody in a meeting should be equal, and everyone should have a voice, right? And making sure that whatever kind of form factor people are using, if I'm on my iPhone, if I'm in a room somewhere, if I'm at home, everyone should be able to participate and engage just the same as everyone being physically in the same room, right? And so we're really super excited, I think, with some of the things I know we've been working with your engineering teams on in terms of how do we take that experience even further into kind of new areas. And so people don't think, oh, I got to bring up this app to do this thing, right? It just happens as part of my workflow, and I can have those things kind of auto-generated for me and make that experience very, very seamless. So it sounds simple. It's really, really hard to do, but it's something that we're just maniacally focused on day in and day out to really do that. So when people do go back, and some of them are starting to, it's going to be an engaging and an inviting experience for them, and safe too, right? Safe and secure. And really using technology to help them in their decisions. So
this is there's so many things you've said that are really inspiring, including everyone having an equal voice, which was tough in the hybrid world pre-pandemic, as well as kind of just your thoughts on you don't have to ask people to engage; it just happens. Like that just seems like this magical moment.
Paul, just to add to that, I'm sure I probably speak for a lot of people on this session, but I'm very much an extrovert. I have others in my family that are introverts. I have people in my team that are introverts as well as extroverts, and so the challenge has always been. I've often found, for just a lot of my experience. Oftentimes the people that aren't necessarily always speaking up often have really, really good ideas. Yes. And so having, a means to really reach out and kind of invite them in, kind of suck them in a little bit and feel safe and connected really helps bring some of that stuff out as well. So they really kind of feel comfortable in regards to that. And that's really, again, part of our mission here is to make that as simple as possible.
God, I absolutely love that. And it's very, very, it resonates a lot with our mission here at Miro as well. Paul, thanks for this like really dense and high bandwidth conversation. It was great. Paul, somebody asked how do you ensure people engage with the Miro board before a meeting?
So, good question. So one of the things that I do is, when we create the Miro board, we go through all the invites and those things. We also make sure that within the calendar invite, because that's where predominantly, people are looking for, okay, what's this meeting about? What am I supposed to do? Those things. And so we'll often, put the board in there as far as and as well as the objectives of what we're asking them for very briefly. It doesn't have to be really detail oriented, but just to, kind of get them to open it up and go. Now, I'll be honest with you, I think we could probably do a little bit better as far as Zoom is concerned to make that even more automatic and engaging, so that maybe there's notification that happens a day or an hour before or something like that for that. But we're we're pulling those things together. We're on kind of a journey to do that. But that's what I found is the agenda, and because that's where I know people's eyeballs are going. Often usually gets people's attention to click on it, at least kind of be curious about it.
Yeah, that totally makes sense to just link it to the agenda. Couple of other really interesting questions here. Maybe starting with the first one, do you see, for instance, for Paul again, do you see big touch screens coming back in a hybrid world? And like, what are going to be the use cases for that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for even just any sort of touchscreen and things, we're definitely seeing people gravitate to their personal device and doing touch on their personal device to manipulate or change some of the larger screen. So if I need to share something or do something, I'm probably more apt to use my personal device, either a laptop or an iPad or something like that, to do those things. Over time, we'll probably see people, gravitate to going back and, wanting to touch things and things. But we've even had other experiences where, from a cleaning perspective, right? We know that a meeting took place at 9 o'clock. Another session could happen at 10 o'clock, but changing the scheduling so that maybe another room could be used in order to get the other room cleaned up and ready for the next team and those types of things. So we're looking at ways in which we can automate some of those things and make those signals, much more apparent to people as well. So, yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah, and then there's one, this is like highly voted. How do you facilitate both face-to-face and remotely at the same time? And I'm assuming kind of the way I read this question is, how do you facilitate a hybrid meeting where some folks are in a room and some folks are remote? Because it is quite challenging to make sure everybody has equal voice. So yeah, Paul, if you have thoughts on that, and I can share some of my thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I'll just give one example where, when we were starting to initially bring, Zoom rooms and Zoom meetings together, they're all on the same platform, but the form factor is different. A lot of the hardware kind of video units and things would have, a larger kind of broader shot of everyone that's in the room, and then everybody that's remote would be like little squares. We now have our partners actually now providing everybody on an equal playing field. So even if I'm in a room, I'll show up as some of those tiles, and we can use that video technology in order to make it even more apparent. But that provides that sense to the people. Instead of seeing one window with like 30 people in a room, I can actually start to key on the people that are talking, and or multitude of people with their own kind of windows. So it almost appears to the remote attendee that everybody is in the same spot I'm in, right? And so, yeah, so a lot of interesting things going on there.
That sounds super interesting. I want to say like 5 years ago, we tried to hack that by having everyone in the room log in, but just the audio interference that can happen in the room when not everyone's super savvy on how to mute and unmute and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, right. That just sounds magical. That you guys will be able to kind of pan and like figure out who's speaking and all of that. Yeah, I think for me, kind of when I've facilitated hybrid meetings, it's always been about kind of like trying not to use physical whiteboards and just making sure that we design everything remote first, or design the meeting as if it was fully remote, just to give like sort of a ladder up to the people who are remote, because they are like generally going to be ignored if we don't like over index on designing meetings for them. That's like one of my philosophies. Right, let's see. We have some more time for a couple more questions. I'm looking at the ones that are highly voted here. So if you guys want to get your questions answered, go into the board and just go ahead and like, I think you can just kind of go to the emoji and look for plus, and kind of go ahead and put a +1 here. This one says how to use tools with a wide range of technical abilities, some of whom see Miro and are instantly afraid that it's too advanced for them. I know I've definitely had the situation where, you know, I'm a designer, I'm so used to kind of canvas-based tools, and not everyone is. You know, people are used to PowerPoint or Excel. Paul, how have you faced this, and how do you guys how do you guys deal with that?
So what I kind of lost the question. What specific was it?
So the question is, what about, are there folks that find tools like Miro kind of too complex or too difficult to use at first glance?
I think, I mean, I think mileage definitely does vary. I think there's definitely some folks that I know I've worked in my experience that there's a comfort level of just, you know, a Word doc or a Google Doc or a sheet or something of that sort. And most of that I found is either they don't know that some of the other tools exist, or there's a preference in terms of their, you know, mode of work, right? And this is the format I want to start to use. That's why I kind of find it's that's what makes it fun sometimes for us to introduce things like Miro to new users, especially internally, that are like, oh, I don't have to do a sheet anymore and go through cells and things like that. It becomes much more interactive. And I do like your idea in terms of really thinking of the remote person as a primary audience, right? And what are they going to see and what are they going to do? Because a lot of people, quite honestly, will have, you know, a laptop screen and that is it. And so having something much more interactive where I can zoom in, zoom out, and such is much more appealing than, you know, someone that may see, you know, on a big screen, the cells look great to them, but someone that's remote, it may be really small. So how do I, you know, counter that? Right. So I think having something like Miro, I think really helps with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we for me, I think when I find someone that that isn't used to a tool like Miro, I find that just kind of showing them a couple of things like how to zoom in and zoom out and pan is probably kind of enough to get people get comfortable and just get started. And then preparing the board in advance. So like if you already have your process map and your empty stickies, it's kind of really easy to go in and start adding to that. And thanks, Paul, for just chatting with us.